Hello everyone, welcome to a slightly belated episode of Music of the Week. I say slightly because it's off from a few hours from when I'd usually record, but sometimes life do be getting in the way of things. So we have 5 albums to go through, and I'm just going to go through them as quickly as I can. Begin with Cattle Decapitation and their newest album, Terrorsight. This is their first album in 4 years. These are a technical death metal band with tendencies towards gore grindy, death grindy stuff, and I'm giving this one a B. I thought this had some very strong stuff in it. I don't like it as much as I liked Death Atlas, I will admit. Still has some really strong points to make. One of the biggest things has always been their lyrics. I do think that they've always written them quite intelligently for a sort of death-leaning band. They've always been one of the smartest bands going, and they have some really important topics to talk about because the band members are vegetarian slash vegan. They do talk about things like the environment and stuff like that. But I don't know. It feels like it didn't really coalesce as well. And someone did point out that they didn't like Death Atlas as much as this one, because they thought Death Atlas had too much melody. I don't know. I like the melody on Death Atlas. I don't mind the lack of melody on this. It's not even about talking point, but it feels a bit too. Compared to Death Atlas, it doesn't quite reach the bar for me. It's really good, hence the B grade. It's not the worst thing. I like the performances. I think the production is a little bit weird in places. I think that might be my main issue with it, but I don't think it's horrible. Structure-wise, it's quite long, yeah, but it does fill that time really well. It does enough to mix up the pacing, not overly so, but it does quite a good job when it wants to. And again, I like the topics it touches on. I do wish there were more guitar styles, more variety, maybe in the instrumental work, but for what it is, it's really good, and it's pretty much what Cattle Decap have always done. I say that like I've listened to them before Death Atlas when I really haven't, so I don't know. It was good. I still recommend you give it a spin. If you are going to compare it to Death Atlas like I am, then be aware it's not going to reach that same height, but still give it a spin. We then go to another band whose newest album comes after 4 years off, which is Disciple, and their newest album, Skeleton Psalms. These are a more Christian rock sort of style band, and this album actually came out in April, and I completely missed it because I'm a fool, and I think I gave their last album, Love Letter Killshot, a B-. I'm giving this one a B- as well. I thought it had some pretty strong moments to it. I do think the band is at their best when they're leaning towards the more heavy stuff, but if they work in the melody and more soft side effortlessly, like they did on Attack, then it can pay off well for them. The problem is they haven't really been able to manage doing that with a lot of success on the past couple of albums, this one included. And I do think like the lyrical theme of like using Bible verses can work for them, but it's ridiculously on the nose and cheesy, and that is a complaint that a lot of people have about Christian rock, I know, but this has always been a Christian rock band I've always had a bit of a soft spot for because of when I got into my weird Christian rock phase back in like the late noughties slash the sort of early-ish 2010s. They were a band I liked because of how heavy they were, and they still have some sides of that here. Like there's a song called Dawn of Deliverance or Dawning of Deliverance. Fantastic song, easily my favourite on the album. I do like a lot of the riffs. I do think, again, they have some strong stuff, and where they go in with the solos and the heavy stuff, it really does pay off for them. I don't think the production's too bad. I think it's quite good, The performances aren't terrible either. Kevin Young screaming again is always nice to hear. I like it when he taps into that sort of more gruff, sort of like southern tinge thing that he does as well. That's a complaint I've actually had about Disciple for a while. They don't have as many southern leaning elements as they used to have. I don't know, I feel like it's something that they should try and incorporate. They haven't really done it a lot since Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, so I don't know, maybe that's just me. But yeah, performance-wise really good. Structure-wise not horrible. It can feel a bit wishy-washy with its song placement, but it does build quite nicely along, and it doesn't waste too much time either. So I would still recommend giving this one a spin. It is the lowest grade of the episode, but it's still one I'd recommend giving it a go. Next is Dropkick Murphys with Okama Rising. I hope I'm saying that right, and much like their last album, This Machine Still Kills Fascists. This is an album where the band basically put music to a bunch of unused lyrics and other material by Woody Guthrie, who was one of the most well-known American folk, anti-authority artists of his time, and I think I gave that one a B+. I'm giving this one also a B+. I quite like a lot of the elements to it. I like the acoustic tinge to the more folky stuff that they do. And yeah, I like the messaging of the songs about the American blue-collar lifestyle, and the themes of the working man really resonating quite well. The performances are great as well. Ken Casey is a really good vocalist, and I do still wish that Albar would return at some point, but I understand the reason why he's not on this album. and I hope I hope he's looking after his mother well, because if I remember right, his mother is sick and he's taking care of her. So good on you, Al. Honestly, good on you. Yeah, production wise, really good too. Very very clean, but like goes in with some really nice gang vocal stuff. I like the collection of vocals that come on this album when they come around, and there was another thing as well. There's not the structuring. I do like the structuring. I don't know, just the overall sound, the overall vibe it gives. I actually quite like it. Again, I do sort of slightly wish it were more like original material to Dropkick Murphys, but considering who Woodard Guthrie was, you could tell that Dropkick Murphys had a lot of respect for the man, and for them to like pay tribute to him in such a brilliant way. I like that they're doing stuff like this, and well, again, while I would like them to put out original material at some point soon, I'm not disappointed with this. I think this is a really good route for them. So yeah, keep at it. I quite liked it, and I can recommend this one. Next is Hot Mulligan with their new album, Why Would I Watch? So, Hot Mulligan are a band I am familiar with. I did catch their last album in 2020, and I don't remember the name of it, but I will flash it on the screen. I do remember quite liking that one, but this one just stepped it up a lot for me. Highest grade of the episode, I'm giving it an A. I really enjoyed quite a lot of this. I liked a lot of their last album, although again, I can't remember the fucking title of it. And if I were doing a top 40, there's a very good chance that album would have made that top 40 of 2020. However, I'm already admittedly insane enough with the top 30, so we're just going to stick to that for the foreseeable forever. So, that'd be a good album name, for the foreseeable forever. I like that. But yeah, the instrumentation is the band's sort of more. They're an emo, sort of like Midwest emo, pop punky, math rock elementy band, and I remember when I first heard of them, because around that time I'd also heard of similar bands like Dogleg and Prince Daddy and the Hyena, but I think Hot Mulligan have those two slightly beat in terms of the more math rocky stuff, and it makes for some really interesting and intricate guitar work that you wouldn't usually hear in pop punk, and I think it works really well for them. I like the heavy vibe that it has at times, and I love how it leans into the emotion. The lyricism is incredible too. There's some really good rhyme schemes on top, and I love the themes that they talk about. Themes of like losing friends over the years. There's a song about losing a friend to dementia. There's a song about a pet dying. There's a song about body dysmorphia and growing up in a religious household, making you more uncomfortable with yourself. That's the last song of the album, which I think it's called John the Rock Senior. John the Rock Senior. Can you smell what the Undertaker? Yeah, by the way, all the song names on this album are incredibly silly. Well, almost all of them. I mean, the song title Betty is actually quite a sweet one, because that's the one about the sadly dead animal. But yeah, the lyricism is great. The performances are really, really good too. Lead singer Nathan Sanville, I believe his name is, puts in a great performance in terms of his clean vocals. It is a bit of a weird one because they didn't really have a bassist around this time, but I think they used whoever their touring bassist is at the moment to record those parts. That could have happened. Yeah, production-wise, really good too. Very much left raw, and I think that's a vibe that fits it, but still feels quite organic in that way too. And structure-wise, it actually builds quite well as it goes along. The song placement feels really good. It eases you into what they try on each song, and it all feels like it's got a really good formula to it, and it really sticks to it. It's very strong. It's got very strong bones to it. So I can recommend giving this one a spin. I quite enjoyed it. And finally, we have Left to Suffer with what I think is their second full album, sources I found differ, titled Feral. By the way, it's just Left to Suffer Feral, not Left to Suffer sources I found differ Feral. That would be way too long. These are a more metalcore band with a slight teeter onto the side of deathcore, and I am surprisingly giving this one an A-, and I'm saying surprisingly because this only has 8 songs on it, and it's only about just over 25 minutes long. It's not a really long album, but the instrumentation is really heavy, but it mixes in a lot of weird elements that I didn't think a band this young was going to be able to get away with. They've only been around since 2019, so they're a very, very new act. And they dropped their debut back in 2020, if memory serves. I haven't listened to that one, but I just might, because this one was really impressive. I liked the lyricism as well. Very heartfelt stuff in some cases. A lot of really good themes touching on depression and anxiety, and unhappiness as well. I liked the performances the most, though. They put in some absolutely fucking incredible dedication to their work. You could just feel the passion from them, and I really, really like that. The production was really good too. It lets them get away with a good few things, and it's a very sort of much like with Hot Mulligan's album, it's a very free-feeling album in that way, which is unique to say because metalcore especially deathcore leaning metalcore, can feel very constricted by its production sometimes, so I am glad that this band was able to break out of that. Then again, it was self-released, so I think it was self-produced, so I think that's how they got around that, and if that is the case, props to them. And yeah, structure-wise, also fantastic. Only 8 songs, but it gets in a lot in just 25 minutes, and it offers something new pretty much on each song. You know, I don't think it necessarily ends in the best way, but they get away with a lot of shit that they really realistically shouldn't have gotten away with, and it just works for the sound and it works for me. So yeah, hence the M-'s great. I think it's fucking great. And that'll about do it. May as well do the ranking thing now, and it pretty much goes Disciple with Skeleton Psalms, Cattle Decapitation with Terrorsight, Dropkick Murphys with Okay Rising, Left to Suffer with Feral, and Hot Mulligan with Why Would I Watch. But as always, give all of these a spin. I thought this weekend of music, well, last weekend of music, was pretty good. You know, I did have to listen back to the new Cattle Decap album like once. I did listen back to Hot Mulligan's new one a couple of times because it didn't fully click with me at first, but when it did, I was like, yeah, no, I'm there for it all day. And reading through the lyrics, which I recommend you do, they're really easy to find on AZ Lyrics, it gives you a new perspective on the songs. So yeah, I recommend doing that if you're going to listen to the album. Next thing you'll see me for might be, hopefully, if I can get Fen to join me this weekend, the start of the Battle Block Theatre Let's Play. I'm not going to do the draft yet because I'm still waiting for a few more roster members for 2K23, but it's almost full. I've got like 4 spots left, maybe 5 or 6, because there's a couple I'm thinking of like shelving, maybe. I don't know, we'll see what comes. But yeah, that's about it. So I'll see you for something over the weekend. I have no bloody clue what it'll be. And the next thing I can promise you is a Fight of the Night a Fight of the Night review on Sunday, if there is a Fight of the Night review. So that'll about do it. Yeah, no, I can't really think of anything else. So as always, awkward segue. Thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye bye.